What is this concocted mess? Well, this is a project I've started that I'm going to be calling the Grandma Lamp. This was a thing that my grandmother found thrown out back in her days of Brighton Beach, Brooklyn. Sitting there on the curb, and she grabbed it and took it home. Gave it to me and said, "It's a lamp." It didn't make sense to me. Now, obviously, I have it all apart here, and there's too many tools and crap here. But basically, this was one of those, like, fire lamps. I never realized that it had a red halogen bulb in it that was in this socket, and there was a fan behind it, and it would stand upright on a stand. Now, like I said, I have this all apart, and you're going to see why in a minute. This is ridiculous, you know. I mean, there's so many parts. I needed an adjustable wrench, pliers, wire cut, all kinds of crazy stuff. The reason it's apart and what's going on is the bulb had burned out. This is the original bulb. 120 volts, 35 watts, JDL type bulb, I think it said. JDR type lamp. I've searched for this thing in red. I can't find it. It just doesn't exist in 120 volts in really any watt rating. I can't find the damn thing. So I did find these bulbs a couple of years ago, actually, at Home Depot. These are 20 watt, but they're 12 volts. And that's a problem, because they wired this because it's 120 volts directly to line voltage. As such, this isn't going to work, and it's a good thing I caught that right before I powered it up, because it would have blown the bulb out immediately. The pins are incompatible as well. I'll get to that in a moment. And the reason this thing threw me for a loop was because of this plate on top. It had these two little ears sticking out of it on top, just like that. And the reason this thing was thrown out is the fabric, the silk, the tissue paper, whatever the hell they used on this thing had come unglued, fallen off, you name it, whatever it was. And as such, it no longer served any purpose, and you wouldn't need a red light pointing up to the ceiling, so it didn't make sense to me why it would be a lamp until I realized that. It's supposed to look something like this when it's on, but again, it was missing this fabricy, silky stuff, whatever it is, and as such, I had no idea what it was. So it's like a fire lamp kind of thing. Here's the base to it. I know it's dusty and crap. It screws together, but the reason that this is apart is I had no use for the base because I didn't need it pointing up. So what I did is I took it apart, and you can see there's a hole I drilled there. One there and one on the other side, and I made a couple of custom brackets for it. Those are right here. They're made out of a couple of computer slot cover brackets that I cut off with a Dremel and drilled a hole in and all kinds of stuff like that. And the thing fits inside of here, and then I can get one screw in. This one is damn near impossible because of these cross braces here. So I kind of have to get in from the side, and it's just awful. It was a real bear putting this thing up, and taking it down was one of those things that was very disheartening, because I knew that it was going to be a pain not only to get down, but also to remount. And I still have the base because I just never throw anything out. I said this might be something in the future, and this is actually going to be a standard table lamp I'm going to make it into in a future part of this project. I already have all the parts for it as well. So back to the project at hand here. What they did is over here they used an AC to DC transformer. I don't know if you can read it, and no, I'm not going to pick it up. But it says that its input is 120 volts AC, its output is 12 volts DC, 210 milliamps. Now this bulb, this 12 volt bulb, is 12 volts, and it is 20 watts, but it's the best I could come up with as far as that goes. The problem is it's not going to run off of this puny little transformer, and we'll see if I can give it a run up. Here's the fan in it, and I have the bulb here, so I'll see if I could turn towards you a little bit, hooked up with a couple of alligator clips to a set of Harbor Freight meter leads so I can back probe these wire nuts over here. And can you hear that? The fan slowed down to nothing and the bulb barely lights. So that transformer ain't going to work. And I was immediately just going to disband the entire project, and that was going to be that, until I realized that I don't need this transformer here. I have 12 volts there running off a computer power supply, and that definitely is going to deliver the 20 watts that this thing needs. 20 watts is a little over an amp or so, and it certainly can deliver that, and I have tested that already, and I will show you that. In fact, I'll show you what I had to do, because the socket, like I said, is not compatible. The pins are different on it. The idea was right, but I don't know how it's going to pan out in practice. So this is what I did. I soldered a couple of wires on that are approximately the right diameter. But the problem is the solder only soldered the copper, and it didn't solder to the bulb. But they're stuck on there pretty good. They're not going anywhere, so it may work. This one's a little loose, but I don't know why I wasn't able to solder to it, but whatever it was, that's what I came up with, at least for the time being. And how it'll pan out, I don't know. But let me go get this fired up on some real 12 volts for you. Here's an old power supply that I had in the old compact that used to live outside before it died of capacitor plague and old age. And the supply still works, and I have tortured this supply with numerous things, including the Harbor Freight car 12 volt defroster thingamajobber. But anyway, just to show you, we'll start with 5 volts. If I can get the pins lined up in there, that would be really nice. Well, we'll use that ground. It's the same difference. Okay, that's odd. It used to work. Is it plugged in and on? It is. Okay, did this bulb call it quits? No, there's 12. It's just a shitty connection. There we go. That's 12 volts. And the supply can light it. No problem. I don't know why it's such a horrible connection, but let's see if I can do 5 now. If I just... There's 5. But on 12, it lights, no problem. Of course, the camera has to adjust. So what I'm going to do is eliminate this transformer entirely and just run 12 volts into the inside of this thing and do that. So I'm not really going to show you what I'm doing here. Let me kill power for your safety, because obviously I don't care, being the safety third guy. And we'll see if we can dismount the transformer. That's got a screw with a nut. This thing, it does say on the label inside something about German patents. So this thing is like really heavy-duty, over-engineered. So anyway, the transformer is now free, and this can stay really as a vestigial organ that doesn't need to do anything or go anywhere. And I'm going to cut all of the wires. Obviously, I'll save this transformer for something else because it does work. You can run a fan, obviously, so I'll save that. And the rest is pretty much what I'm going to do is cut these wires here, back over here, which are the 120 coming in, and these lines here, which are the 12 volts out, and splice them together. And then I'm only going to feed this thing with 12 volts. I'm also going to be removing the standard wall plug because obviously if you plug 120 into it, you're going to blow the fan up and the bulb in one clean shot. So really what's left is just a little bit of a rewiring job and mounting everything back up. And I'm not entirely certain how all of this goes back together. I sort of took it apart, and I'm going to sort of have to figure out how it goes back because I didn't really pay attention to when I took it apart. So I'm going to continue on with this, and I will create another part once I have this redone and remounted. Thank you for watching. Make sure you click like. Make sure you click subscribe. And take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.